Hello there and welcome to another episode. Today is episode 111. It's just always amazes me that we've been going 111 weeks. That's a couple of years. And it's exciting to come together and share more of the truth that sets us free. I was listening not only to my own guidance early this morning, but I also love listening to a couple of teachers on this planet who channel and who share information. Not that I'm looking for validation, but it does offer a confirmation that what I'm receiving, what I'm sensing, what I'm feeling is coming through others as well. So I'm not the only one that knows and feels that what we are experiencing is real. Not only that, but it is historically spoken about the wars that humanity has experienced, the biblical wars, the fight between two masters, God and evil, good and evil, love and fear, God and the ego. And we are smack dab at the front door of entering into a whole new realm of existence, because that which was created on a foundation of sand, shaky, unstable, is collapsing. It must collapse because there are too many of us. Pull my chair in a little bit more here. There are too many of us who have turned on our light, who see clearly what is happening, who are not bamboozled, who are not being tricked, who can tell the difference between lies and truth. There are so many of us. And as we turn our light on, we have the ability to see more clearly what is happening. And as we see more clearly what is happening, what are you seeing? More clearly what was happening before that kept us in a state of illusion. So as we become more aware that we are creators of our reality, we must face the reality that we created and say no to it. That's all that needs to happen. That is why when people begin to move down their spiritual path, they are seeking light. They are seeking lightness. They want to go to a higher dimension. They want more joy, more fun, more ease, more peace. It's a higher frequency, as you see in my chart. The frequencies go up, you feel more expanded. The frequencies go down, you feel more contracted. So many, many more of us, and the millions of us, hundreds of millions, can see past the illusion, can see that stories have been made up, because that's what illusion is made up stuff. So what is true always, as we have learned through A Course in Miracles. In the very beginning, in the introduction, it says nothing real can be threatened. Nothing real can be threatened, and nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. So how do you understand the peace of God? You know what is real, and that's what's reality. That's what is truth. Everything else is made up. It's unreal because it's made up. So when you go back in history of the human history, you don't have to go very far. You can see that history has been written by those who won the wars, by those who were in control. It's made up. It cannot threaten you. It cannot in any way, shape, or form alter the soul that is you. Now, when we don't understand the truth of who we are, when we don't move down this path and begin to align with our eternal self, we think we're just a human, temporary self that has a birth and a death. And then we think life is about what we can do, what we can have, what we can accumulate, what we can acquire to make us safe, to make us, whatever it is, because that's what the indoctrination is all about, making us good little worker bees that will work ourselves to the bone for the promise of being safe. Well, when you understand teachings like A Course in Miracles and many others, Jesus was here teaching this 2,000 years ago. The Buddha taught this 2,500 years ago. The Egyptians knew this, 5,000 plus years ago? The Lemurians knew this 12,000 years ago. How come we are not receiving the truth that sets us free? Because on this planet, and this is a good thing, this is a very good thing. On this planet, we incarnated because we knew this was an incredible playground where anything goes. This is like the wild west frontier of the universe, where we can incarnate and be anything we want to be. We can be the cowboys or the Indians. We can be, the doctors and the lawyers, or the stay-at-home moms and the homeless people. We can play any role that we want to play. However, we take the forgetfulness pill, the amnesia pill, meaning you forget who you are eternally, so you think you are your temporary self. So we are waking up from the idea, the illusion, the made-up story that we're temporary costumes is our reality, and remembering our true eternal nature. As we remember our eternal nature, we begin to allow the scales of illusion to fall off of our eyes. We can begin to see more clearly. We see through the nonsense. So when you look at this chart, all babies are born from a state of oneness with all that is. Not a single one of them comes in and says, oh, you can't touch me. Doctor, you can't hold me. Mom, Dad, you can't hold me. I'm not going to smile at you. They don't do that. They come in totally, completely neutral. They love anybody and everybody that has them. That's why you can adopt little children, and they bond because they don't know any different. But little by little, we get indoctrinated, and we fall and we fall and we fall. This is the fall of man. We fall into this illusion that we're separate, that we're not good enough, that we are incapable, all of those crazy things that we have to work ourselves crazy to retire. And then we'll have something that our net worth becomes our self-worth. All of that is learned, indoctrinated, made up. It's unreal, because if we decided to change the rules of how we play the human game, we can change them. We could all take care of each other. Nobody would have to work themselves to the bone. Everybody gets to contribute, and we would share all of the food. We would share, if you want a mansion, we'll all help you build a mansion. You want a little shack, we'll all help you build a little shack, because there would be no hierarchy, there would be no specialness. But the way that we entered into the planet Earth is because we knew it was a third density planet, meaning that it is a game of separation, of forgetting who we are, and of hierarchy, specialness, as the Course in Miracles calls it. Some people are special up, some people are special down. So when you play the game under those rules, well, you're going to have haves and have-nots. If some are special have and some are special don't, then you're going to create a world that necessitates over thousands of years to create governments with people who are in the same lineages, the same family trees, because they are helping and supporting one another. And if they have an agenda, they are going to make sure that whoever takes over fulfills that agenda. It's super simple. I mean, that's it. Those who don't want to play that game anymore are deciding to go above the line. This line right here, this thicker line, maybe not so visible here, but there's a line right here that we have to cross. My Monday night class, we had a beautiful meditation where we made a choice to draw a line in the sand and cross it, meaning we commit to only what is true. We commit to God's truth, not the man-made alterable truths that we use based on convenience, but the truth that is true always, that is unchangeable. No matter what planet you're on, no matter what lifetime, no matter what universe of all the multiverse you're in, it is the same for all. And that is that we are eternal, we are free, we are creative, and we were created to love, to extend love, to create more for us to love. So when we get clear about the truth of who we are, who would we want to hurt when we know that we're made to love? Who would we want to cheat from when we know that we're creative, and in our creativity, we can create abundance? But see, humanity, I know I did, When you hear the word abundance, you think, oh, money, how much can I get? It's me. I can put it in my bank account. I can pay off my debt. I can buy my favorite house or go on my favorite vacations. Immediately, the word abundance goes to what can I get? What can I get? But when you move into the realm of God, abundance means this is not the only playground. Abundance means your mind is creative and you can make this up today and make that up tomorrow. Nobody has to lose for you to get. In the world of the ego, it's a pie, and everybody gets a slice of the pie. Some get a bigger slice, some don't get any slice at all, some get the crumbs, but when the pie is gone, it's gone. This is what we're told. There's only so much money. And yet they keep printing it. They keep printing it to benefit certain specific things. And when I say they, those who are special in control. So as we pull our allegiance from the external things, from the people, the places, the things, the jobs, the money, the retirement, the ideas that we have about how things should be, when we retrieve our energy from it, because when you're attached to that being your source, you're losing energy because you're sending it out. You're suffering if you don't have that. You're upset if you don't achieve that. You're very, very angry or disappointed or jealous if somebody takes it from you. So to move into the realm of being at peace within, to experience what God has given all of us, which is the inalienable right to happiness, because when you are operating from your true self, you're going to be happy. When you're using your creativity to create, and has nothing to do with stuff. It has everything to do with expression. If you feel like painting, you paint. If you feel like singing, you sing. If you feel like dancing, like cooking, like designing a new building, all of the things that make that possible assemble for the pure joy of the co-creation. We have not been taught that. We've been taught to be selfish, to protect ourselves, to be wary of, strangers, don't talk to them. We teach that to children from a very young age. We teach that, you put your money in your safe account under your mattress, it used to be, then in your bank account, and then you put a lock on your door. And if that's not enough, then you put a security system. If that's not enough, now we got the cameras that you can put on the doorbells. I mean, it's all about surveilling the outside so nobody gets to my stuff. Well, that's a pretty scary way to live. And it perpetuates separation. It perpetuates fear. It perpetuates haves and have-nots. I have, and they could steal it from me, then I would have not. Or those have more than I do, and I need to go get some of that. All of that silliness, which is part of the 3D game, is going to end for those who don't want to play that game anymore. And this is something that's really important that we understand. As we entered into chapter 30, section 3, beyond all idols, we need to understand what idols are all about, because idols are external things that we have used to move away from our own internal alignment with God. I grew up Catholic. I never talked to God. If anything, God was always going to punish me. So why would I want to talk to somebody who's always going to get me in trouble? I had no interest in God. And as I got older, I had even less interest in God because I was becoming consciously aware of all the sinful things I was doing. And I had this fear dangling over here that when I die, I'm going to go, end up on an eternal rotisserie, which I began to feel as my reality when my mother passed away, because then I knew her, then I realized, oh my goodness, I know where she's going. So that little seed planted in the back of my mind that I was going to go to hell got activated because it needed to, for two reasons. One, it's what I was believing in my human world. In the third density game, that is what was going to run my life, the fear of dying, because I was moving closer to that timeline. However, the second part is when it comes into your awareness, when the fears come to your awareness, and you're prepared to wake up, they are there for you to see and transcend. And, when you look at the word transcend, it really is to end a trance. Trance ends. So we are in the process of ending the trance of separation, of the delusion of illusions. So we are being invited, those who are ready. And when I say ready, it's because it's part of your soul contract. Nobody incarnates in this planet without a knowing of what their journey is going to be about. To some level, there are specific opportunities, and each individual has free will to choose to go this way or that way, this way or that way. And it's a constant decision that we're making all the time. It's not you go this way and that's the way you go. It's you go this way and then you go this way and then you go this way and you go this way and then you come back this way and then you go this way. It's quite fluid. So those whose soul contracts are about waking up are going to experience things coming up into their conscious awareness, fearful things, because the irritations are the invitations. If you are ready to look at things from a different perspective, it's not to avoid that thing, but rather it's to face it and say, I'm done with that game. And that is something that we really have been prepared through A Course in Miracles. We have been prepared to face that which feels dark and say, I'm not interested in this game anymore, because that which you want to transcend cannot end until you wake up from the trance. You must decide to look at it and say, you have no power over me. You're made up. You're an illusion. You're part of a game, like in the House of Mirrors, or when you go into an amusement park and they have a haunted house, a horror house. We see that in the Western Hemisphere a lot around Halloween, where there's all these haunted houses and people pay money to walk in and have the crap scared out of them. I know my kids did. I never liked that, but some people do. So what we're doing now is let that thing scare you, and then you go, oh, you pull the mask off their face. Oh, you're my neighbor playing the role of Chainsaw Massacre. Nice to see you. So we, as part of those who are ascending to that higher frequency, are in the perfect time, at the perfect place to face the idols and say, you have no power over me, because you appointed yourself to this role. I agree to you playing that role, but that's not the role God gave you. God gave each and every one of us the same role, and that is to be connected, loving brothers and sisters to one and all. That is our role, which is why our function of being happy is possible, because there's no competition when we all know we are brothers and sisters. And I'm not talking about human brothers and sisters. Human brothers and sisters, it's easy to discard one another, to be angry at one another, to not talk to one another. I had a sister who didn't talk to us for 10 years after my mom died. And so in human love, we play conditional love. So yeah, you didn't do what I wanted you to do, so I won't talk to you for 10 years until I need something from you, and then I'll talk to you again. That's the love of the human game. But the love of God says we're all one. And when we recognize that we're all one and we're all in this together, and we all have the same purpose, which is to expand the kingdom of heaven, meaning to share our talents, our gifts, to bring about and connect with those who share those talents and gifts. And then from that place, you attract more people and you build more, and it continues to expand to infinity, because there's no end to what God can create. In the human world, there's only so much you can do. You only have so many hours in a day. You only have so many years that you can work before you retire. So we're always on this fear-based trajectory to complete, get it done, get the to-do list. A lot of anxiety, a lot of fear. Well, when we move into the realm of expansion, one thing that is very difficult for people to be able to do in order to continue is they have to face the ego. They have to see the part of them that participates in the illusion, that makes the external real, that creates the idols, that worships this candidate over this one, and gives them the right to judge this one. Now, it doesn't mean that we're not going to have candidates that we support politically, that we're not going to have, you might even pick the winner for the Miss Universe pageant, if that's what you like. I saw that was on the headlines recently, but you'll have the ability to pick and choose, but you're not going to pick and choose. You will not be able to. When you realize that everybody's just playing a role, you're not going to be able to pick and choose as if you're right and everybody else is wrong that doesn't select that. You'll just be able to discern what makes sense, because you're going to observe those who are on a trajectory of expanding consciousness. And you know how to tell the difference? I'm going to give you a very simple trick. Anything, you can look at the chart, anything that expands and it gives opportunities to others, that opens up possibilities to themselves and others, is of God. Anything that contracts, that controls, that takes away, that limits, that favors this one over the other one, that uses double standards, is not of God, meaning it is a block to God. So it must come from somewhere. It comes from the egoic place, where if you were conditioned into limitation, protect your house, get the security system going, then you in your consciousness believe in specialness. You believe in hierarchy. You believe some have, some don't. You accept, well, I only make, $20 an hour, but those people make billions and millions and whatever, all kinds of money. They can do it, but I don't have that intelligence. They can achieve it but I don't have those connections. We have settled for believing in limitation that supports separation. When you wake up and you realize, oh my gosh, we're all one, we're all on the same team, you begin to really understand. Some enter into the amusement park and head straight for the haunted house because they like having the crap scared out of them. And some are going to go for the roller coaster that is just fun and exciting and maybe not too crazy. That would be me. And then some are going to go for the thrill, the roller coaster that they're going to go to the top, and then boom, they're going to drop down and their stomach's going to be beyond their throat, because they like that kind of fear. Some like the dark fear, some like the fear out in the open so they can see it. They can see that they're dropping, and everything in between. So every one of us, as children of the creative source, have free will. We have liberty. We have choice. We can do whatever we want. The thing is that we have not been told that our freedom is exercised with every single thought that we think. We think that we have freedom to choose the cereal at the grocery store. We think we have freedom to choose what kind of car we drive, or maybe where we live, or to choose this person over another. We think we have freedom for those simple thoughts, simple choices. Like recently, I opened up a bank in Colorado. I've got my banking in Georgia, where I lived for almost 40 years, but then I moved here and I thought, I want to get to know people here. Let me meet the local bankers, because at some point I may need another car. I'll get to choose my car. Well, I got to choose where I'm banking now. Freedom, so much freedom. The average person thinks that is what they get to choose, what they wear, today, what they give away tomorrow. We think that that's the extent of our freedom. But here's the thing. The course is teaching us that we have absolute, total, and complete control of our creations, including believing that our freedoms are limited. We actually can believe that somebody else has our freedom, meaning we have abdicated, there we go, our freedom to somebody else. Oh, the president says that I can't do this. Oh, the medical person says that I have to take this jab. Oh, this is what the weather says, that this is the way that it is. And we have used our ability to create, to participate in an illusion that says, I don't have that much power. And until you really understand that, until you see that your belief that somebody else has power over you is what creates the idols that we are talking about. And last week, we read this this paragraph number 1, it says, idols are very specific, because it's the head of this organization, it's the head of the family, it's the president of this country, it's a dictator, it's the principal. We have very specific idols. The movie actor and actress, that is the only one I follow, or the music person, that is my favorite and the only one whose concerts I'll see or whose music I'll buy. We have idols. So they're very specific. And when you think about creation is it's very generic. It's all encompassing. God created gazillions of grains of sand and they're all equal. You don't see the president of the Sand Association or the president of the Grass Association or the president of the Cow Association. We don't see that in the realm of nature because it's very specific to humans. Humans have the ability to choose between love and fear, to choose to forget that we're creators of our own reality. And we are just like God created us to create, but we have the ability through what the Course says, a tiny mad idea, a crazy thought that what if I'm separate from God? And when we decide to think the thought, what if I'm separate from God? Maybe I know better than God. Then we're going to descend, because the minute that we decide that I'm separate from God and I know my way, I only have access to so much. When we stay connected to God, like the grains of sand or the blades of grass or the cows, they are aligned to all that is. They did. How many cows do you see working 40 hours a week to get a paycheck to retire? Now, humans will work the cows and put them into a specific program and retire them at some point when they can't get anything out of them, because humans are selfish and greedy. They're not talking to the cow and asking the cow, well, how long do you want to produce milk for? How long do you want to produce babies for? No, we make them do these things because we operate under schedules that have been given to us for the purpose of control. So as we get more comfortable with what creation is all about, freedom is pure freedom. We must face the idols that we have idolized that brought us into bondage. Because when we are in bondage, we have contraction. When we are in freedom, we have expansion. Listen to this line here that we read last week. Actually, it's a couple of lines. So when we're talking about idols, you're talking about form, specific form. So they are the belief that there are forms that will bring happiness, and that by limiting is all attained. So if I limit myself to this one career, if I limit myself, I'm going to sneeze. Ooh, excuse me. By limiting ourselves to this career, to that relationship, to this place to live, to this whatever association group, part of a group that you might belong to, because you think that that's what's going to help you achieve whatever you want to achieve. You think that limited thing is helping you achieve what it is that you believe you deserve. Now listen to this line. This is so profound. It is as if you said, I have no need of everything. So when we get indoctrinated, we are limited into this is the only thing that's going to bring you happiness. But when you are like a cow, like a blade of grass, and you're in the field, like the lilies of the valley, like the birds in the field, in the air, everything is yours. There are no boundaries. So cows have boundaries because we limit where they can go. And in many cases, blades of grass are limited because they plant them here, and that is where you're going to have your green space depending on where you live. So the more that we become comfortable with the idea that we want everything, is the more that we are moving out of the illusion of separation that is run by idols. So let's get into paragraph number 2 in this section. Again, I am in chapter 30 of A Course in Miracles. The title of this chapter is called The New Beginnings. And the reason we're in the new beginnings is because that's what's happening now. The old world of contraction is is bifurcating. Why? And it's not that everybody's going to be taken out of there. Not at all. This is why you have to wake up and understand what's happening. It is a choice. You are choosing to contract yourself in the 3D matrix. Well, you get to choose to expand yourself out of the 3D matrix. But if somebody does not make the choice to expand, which is a free will choice, they are automatically choosing to remain contracted. Just because somebody is not exercising their free will doesn't mean they're not using it. Let me say that again. Just because somebody is not exercising, publicly dictating their free will, does not mean that they're not using it. Free will is what we all have been granted by God. If you're on this planet and you do not want to wake up, and you are idolizing external powers, and you believe that the outside is what keeps you safe, you are using free will to believe that is good for you. Well, as we bifurcate, as we go through the timeline split, as we go through the process of, it's very simple, graduation. Some are graduating to play the game in a different playground. This amusement park, if you've been already to it, I mean, I have one of my kids used to go to Six Flags all the time when they were younger. And one day they got bored. They didn't want to go there again. I mean, I've been on every ride, Mom. I've done it a million times. I don't want to go back there. I want to try a different playground. Another one of my children, he is 29 years old. That's still where he goes. Why? Because it's familiar. He likes that it's familiar. One child got bored with the familiar. One child feels safe in the familiar. So it's very simple. Many of us that are bored with the familiar, tired of corruption, tired of lies, tired of manipulation, tired of limitation, tired of competitions, tired of others controlling your ability to expand, you are making the choice. I am done with that. I want to go to this playground. Now, as we ascend to the next playground, we took the amnesia pill. We don't know what the fifth dimension is all about because we took the amnesia pill to drop into the third dimension and play this game. So we got indoctrinated in what this game is all about. And we're playing this game to the best of our abilities inside of the constraints of the 3D world. To go to the 5D world, hold on a second, let me blow my nose. To go to the 5D game, we're going not knowing what it's all about. This is why we go through a process. I call it the bridge of transformation. We move from the 3D world, and this takes lifetimes. And in this lifetime, it can take a while of moving little by little by making incremental choices day to day to day to do things differently, to align with God, to connect through meditation, through contemplation, through whatever process you prefer to use, to connect to God, to hear the voice for God, so that you begin to be informed by the consciousness that is at that higher frequency. You open up and you let yourself receive guidance, and then little by little you move in that direction. And when we are collectively in a new gathering, if you will, you know it. People think differently. They think expanded. They don't want to go to the same playground. They're talking about new inventions, new ideas, things that have never been before. Where is that coming from? If it's never been before, where is it coming from? Well, it's coming from the source that is bringing those ideas through each and every one of us, because God created us as vessels to extend the kingdom. And to extend the kingdom, you have to have new inventions, new ways of doing things. To destroy the kingdom, you have to contract, you have to limit, to take away, to stop the things that would expand and contract and bring all the cows into the pen for the slaughter. That's just the way that it works. There's nothing wrong with that. Because if you know the truth that you're eternal, there is no such thing as death. So those who we think are going to experience great suffering and they're going to be killed or poisoned or whatever that might be, well, that's the ride they chose. They entered into the haunted house with the person dressed up as a chainsaw massacre. That is what their free will chose to allow to be their experience. Now, we can say, oh my God, I would never pick that. Well, maybe in this lifetime you didn't, but maybe in a previous one you picked something similar, which is why in this lifetime you said, I'm bored with that. If you feel safe in that environment of limitation, then you are not waking up. So don't worry about it. If you're here listening to this message, you are bored with the old ways and you're ready for the new playground. That playground is not going to be shut down. It's going to continue. We're just going to have the experience of having gone to a different playground, even if we're on the same plane. Even if we're all on the same planet, it's going to appear as if there's two groups, and we already see it. We already see it forming. We saw the two groups when there were, different religions. We saw the two groups politically. We saw the two groups medically. Those without the jab, those with the jab. We see the two groups in terms of who wants freedom of speech and who doesn't, who wants guns and who doesn't. We see the bifurcation of humanity. It's just going to get a lot more clear. Those who want freedom and those who are still looking for safety in all the wrong places, meaning out of fear, they won't look at freedom. Out of fear, they're willing to let their idols give them a false sense of safety. Why? Because they don't want everything. They only want a little bit, and they want that little bit protected. Here, those who are willing to say, I want it all, are willing to say, but I don't know how to do that. And I'm not looking to an idol to tell me. I'm going directly to God for that inspiration. And when a whole bunch of people gather, inspired by God, and you can change the name if God doesn't, it's the name you don't like, source, spirit, creator, you go to that for inspiration and you say, I would love to have whatever it is, a community. I would love to have a home. I would love to have a career where I get to activate these talents, where let your imagination run wild. You got to become like a little child to enter the kingdom. You've got to let yourself go back into the ways that little children were absolutely, totally, and completely open to what God gives us as opportunities. And you got to believe that they're possible. So paragraph number 2 says, it is not form you seek. Stop seeking the solid. This is the job. This is the house. This is the amount of money. This is what I need. This is the partner. Because if you're looking for form, you're not listening to the content of God speaking to you. You're listening to the content of the ego that focuses your attention on the form, on the external, on what you're idolizing. So what form can be a substitute for God, the Father of love, the Mother of love? What physical thing can give you more than your relationship with God? The only people that would say, oh, but that money would help me pay the bills, they are not awake. They do not know that to connect to God is to connect with infinite creativity, where infinite abundance, where it is limitless. So we want to hold on to this little bit. I know I did. Oh, I got to have that paycheck so I can get this and this done, instead of God, let's go beyond this. Let's expand. So we are being trained on the steps to take along the bridge until we cross it. When we cross it and we get to the 5D level of consciousness, you're in freedom. You will never do anything that hurts another. It's not possible, because you know that all is one, so you're doing it to yourself. That this is why Jesus said, treat others as you would want to be treated. And if you want to take a little exercise today, look at how you treat other people. Bring to mind the people in your life, all of them. Are you generous to the people who do things for you? If you're not, if you believe that they deserve to, that they should take care of you, then at some level, you don't believe God takes care of you. So you're looking for idols to take care of you. You don't believe that you can take care of yourself because you need others to do it for you. Just pay attention how you treat others, what you say about others, what you think about others, because all of that are reflections of really what you believe about yourself. all of it, no exceptions. But back to this. So sentence number 3 says, what form can take the place of all the love in the divinity of God, the Son? What form, what thing outside of you can take the place of your infinite divinity? Those things are going to have an expiration date. That money is going to get spent. Maybe the money system is going to be totally changed and there won't even be those dollars anymore, which we're moving in that direction. Now pay attention to the timelines. One is setting up the money system without the dollars for control. One is setting up the money system without the dollars for expansion. Make sure you are paying attention to what side you're on. So are you going to give yourself the grace of connecting to God so that you can move to the place where you are totally free of all external forms, where you can walk away from all the physical stuff, know that you are safe in the mind of God? If you still have attachments, you have to be honest, because any attachments to externals are idols that you are worshiping. You cannot have two masters. It's either going to be God or material. And with material, of course, comes money, comes hierarchy, comes all of that. With God comes total and complete freedom to take full responsibility for your ability to create, because you are creating your reality even when you limit your mind. There is no way around that. So much of this work is about expanding the mind. I mean, our mind has been contracted to think not only silly stuff, stupid stuff, things that are absolutely inconsequential, selfish oriented for now, based on fear. We are being trained to expand our mind, to go beyond the thing that we're trying to get and live in a state of, what if there's nothing to get? What if everything that I need, I have it when I need it? I mean, that's really the ultimate definition of abundance. You have what you need when you need it. Why do you have to hoard it? Why do you have to put it away? Well, I had to go get a bank account because that's just how money gets transferred. My to be able to pay for some of my expenses, they won't take a wad of cash. They want it transferred electronically. So I'm playing the game and doing it that way. But I don't need to accumulate it to feel safe. I know it's coming because it's all around me based on the frequency that I'm putting out. All right. So what idol can make two of what is one? Listen to this. What idol can make two of what is one? Meaning, you've got an idol, you've got a musician, and if we're one, that musician is an expression of you. That musician is singing the songs for you. Can you enjoy that musician because it is a reflection of you? Or is that musician separate? You're over here, they're up there and they're talented and you're not. They have the money and you don't. They got the contracts and the whatever record producers and you didn't. Now what was one giving you the opportunity for the one that enjoys the performance and the one that gives the performance, so giver and receiver are one, those two got separated in illusion only. As an experience, God makes sure that there are two there, just like God created blades of grass so the cows could eat, not because the cow and the grass are separate, they're all made of the exact same thing, but so that they could have the experience that of what the cow does and what the grass does. So when you take a performer and you idolize them as if they're separate and they're higher than you, they're better than you, or you judge them and say, oh my God, that's horrible music, they're worse than you. You took what is one and you turned it into two. Now you give yourself the righteous permission to judge your brother and your sister, which is really you. Well, that's because your mind is trained in separation. If you understood oneness, which is what we're crossing the bridge to remember, and when we all operate at that frequency, we're going to know we're all one and we're all here just enjoying each other. There'll be no competition. There'll be no judgment. There'll be no anybody more special than another. Everything will be equal. But until we get there, we know we're playing the game. So what idol can make two of what is one? And what can be, and can the limitless be limited? Only in the 3D world does the limitless of God appear limited, appear to be only this much for you and this much for me, this country for me and this country for you. For a while, it appears that we have separated and divided up the goodies. For a while, we are going to continue to operate as if borders are natural, and we're going to protect them because we are restabilizing our sense of self. And to restabilize who you know yourself to be, you must have a safe space to do this. And well, let me not say you must have. A lot of people have learned to connect with their true self in very unstable places, but for the most part, our guidance is to take us into places, into communities, into ashrams or workshops or even spiritual centers where we get to do a lot of the work in a safe way, because it's very uncomfortable when you're peeling layers and you're seeing your ugly self. It's very uncomfortable. It can make you very scared. It can make you traumatized. It can make you feel bipolar, that you've got these two voices. I know I felt that way. I thought I was spiritually bipolar for a while. I was listening to the ego, I was listening to God, and I was so confused at times. So we're going to go through a process of healing. It is best if we do it within a certain space that understands us, that is part of our culture, until such time that more rise to the awareness of our oneness, in which at that place there will be no borders. But there will be no borders because nobody's trying to get into your border to take your stuff. There is only a moving about freely upon this planet because we're all contributing to the greater good of all. We're not there yet. We're still selfishly oriented, and we want to get into each other's borders, into each other's checking accounts, into each other's personal stuff to see what we can get. So we cannot just open up the borders while we're still operating at that frequency. We need to prepare ourselves, balance ourselves, claim the truth of who we are and for the collective before we open it up and begin to discern who is operating in that frequency and who's not. This is why this decade we are bifurcating, meaning we are separating those who want freedom. They are not going to need to have borders because they will respect everybody's freedom. Those who want my freedom at your expense, I get to do what I want, but you don't, that have double standards, that play favorites because they are run by idols. They're not quite ready to be let loose over here because all that they're going to do is be selfish. And these people are wanting to be, they want to share because it's a total different frequency. They're not going to match. Oil and water, they're not going to match. For a very long time, we've been shaking the bottle of oil and water, and it appeared like we were all everywhere connected at once, but it's separating. It is separating for a reason, because vibrationally, those who want freedom are not putting up with the nonsense of limitation. They can see it, bring their light to it and say, nope, you're not for me anymore. I'm not going to play that game. I'm taking 100% responsibility for what God has given me, and my work is here to extend the kingdom. So as we continue, and can the limitless be limited? Yes, it can in the mind, but no, it can't in eternity. That's what we're becoming aware of. So you do not want an idol. You don't want a replica. Why would you want a pretend leader when you can go to God, who leads all of us equally, no favoritisms? You know, if God were a president, the same justice system for God as a president would be the same justice system for all presidents. If God were a doctor, the same freedom of choice and understanding of consent, informed consent, would be the same for everybody. But we don't have God as the one who's running the show, so don't go for an idol. Don't go for one who is attempting to be in charge, but has no desire for equality. This is what we need to understand. Idols are always selfishly oriented. It's all about me. Now, there are some people that we idolize. I know there are some people that I absolutely revere, because I see them standing up to the status quo, and I won't put them in an idol category that they're up there and I'm down here, but they are people that I admire because they're not afraid. They have chosen freedom, even to the point that they might lose their life. But just like Jesus, so what? We're eternal. We'll get another body vessel. We'll come back in and play again in another lifetime and do, participate in the playground just the same, maybe just not in this particular role. So when you are doing God's will, you can't be attached to a lifetime. You've got to be willing to, like the cows on the field, roam wherever you are being pulled to based on what is best for you, because ultimately it will be best for the collective. So it is not your will to be an idol. It is not your will to be one of those. It will not bestow on you the gift that you seek. Don't try to elevate yourself over anybody else, because if you think that you are right, God is going to give you opportunities to see that you're equal. You're not better than. Now, when we say right, you've got to understand what is truth and what is illusion. Do you know truth? Then you're still not going to want to be an idol. Do you know truth? You don't need to be right about that. You know it in your bones and you know it, and that's it. Others get it, they get it. If they don't, it's okay. Because in oneness, you treat others as you want to be treated. You're free to believe what you want to believe, because I'm free to believe what I want to believe. So then it goes on to say in sentence 9, when you decide upon the form of what you want, you lose the understanding of its purpose. Once you decide this is the job for me and this is what it's going to get me, and it's going to get me these resources and it's going to make me this much money, and then I can retire. When you decide that your job or your business, that's what it's going to get you, you really have lost what it's about. Is what is it going to give others? What is the purpose of this? How is it going to serve humanity? If you can keep a balance between giving and receiving, this is what I'll be able to receive, but I want this to continue to give, then you're golden. But that is where the ego traps so many of us, is that we start things with great intentions, and then the ego gets selfish, greedy, wants more, wants more, wants more. Look at politicians. When their families continue to enter, when they go into career political positions, it's not service anymore. Service to the greater good of, you go in, you do your part, you're one term, 2 terms maybe, then you're out. And you're out because you're going to go live under the laws that you created, because you create good laws because you want to go back and live under them. But when you are a career politician and you do not live under the laws that you create, and you have immunity and you can do whatever you want, then you have no idea how this is affecting the rest, because you don't experience it. Giving and receiving must happen. If you're going to give power to laws, then you got to go receive what happens under those laws. So this is why it says in here, when you decide upon the form that you want, you lose your understanding of its purpose, because the ego makes it selfish. So you see your will within the idol, thus reducing it to a specific form. Oh, I want to be like that politician. I want to be like that. I love that one who became a career politician. Let me follow their steps. So now the thing that you wanted to do in service is lost. You're blocked. You block what God wanted to use you to extend, because you enter into, this is going to make me somebody. So you begin to idolize yourself because you saw another idol that did the same thing. Yet this could never be your will, because what shares in all creation cannot be content with small ideas and little things. We're going to complete with that sentence because it's profound. Let me illustrate it with this chart. It can never be ultimately your will to descend and be happy with the little, with the limitation that you have, because we were created to expand the kingdom. It was our will to come and play into this playground, knowing full well that we are not going to get stuck down here forever. This is a temporary illusion. Whether you wake up in this incarnation or you end the incarnation and you wake up afterwards. So on the other side of the death experience, you realize, oh my gosh, I don't want to go back to that crazy planet. You can do that. But those who really understand the game have incarnated and are moving through this process, taking that bridge or that ladder up and out of the illusion, because they know they have free will and they're exercising it, only for one reason. It's fun, it's exciting, it's exhilarating. That's what I remember with my daughter when she didn't want to go back to the old amusement park of Six Flags in Georgia. It's because she already been there, done that. She'd already tried those. She wanted to go on another roller coaster. She wanted to go on another ride. She wanted to try something new. We don't have to have the death experience to try something new. We're doing it while we're incarnated. That's what makes this time so exciting. Is so many people are waking up and remembering their truth. We're having the moment of resurrection right here. We don't have to drop the body like Jesus did, or so many have done. We are keeping the body and resurrecting our soul, bringing it up and waking it up, transcending the ego, ending the trance of limitation, and aligning with the truth of who we really are. So it says that, it's never is going to be our will to reduce ourselves, because what shares in all creation cannot be content with small ideas and little things. If you're still okay with your pension, with your retirement funds, your little stuff that you're doing, if you're okay with that, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're happy, by all means, keep doing that. But if you want to connect to God, if you want to say, God, use me as an instrument of your peace, as others have said, infuse me with creativity. Let me have words come through me that have never been spoken through anyone before or through me before, so that I can bring ideas into the world, so that I can bring inspiration to the world. You are going to be used. This is why we are seeing people popping up all over the place that are not politicians stepping into roles of leadership, because they're saying, we got to change this. This is not how I want my children to grow up, or my grandchildren, and they are being inspired to do it differently. Now, some may be rogue and may be doing it in a kind of half and half way. Others are doing it in such gentleness and compassion. When I watch the interviews with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., I am just in awe of his gentleness and his honesty. He says things that politicians don't say. In many ways, like Trump was, not interested in serving the status quo and allowing some things to come through him that were necessary. Now, to me, Trump is more on the rogue side, where Kennedy is more on the gray side. But I believe that is being set up for a reason. So I'm going to share my perspective. Trump is the one that is going to help crush the old. Kennedy is one that's going to help build the new. Now, if they join forces, that would be amazing, but chances are that they probably won't, not right now. Trump has a job to do, just as we have a job to do with eradicating our lower self, with being done with our own lies, with being done with our own BS. So Trump, in many ways, is going to finish a job of totally dismantling, or at least exposing clearly, so it's without any doubt that it is happening, what he has termed as the swamp. So he has a role to play. And we are seeing Kennedy being prepared for this role. This is not what he wanted to do. He didn't want to be a politician. He didn't want to follow in the footsteps of his uncles and father. He is listening to the voice for God. He shares that he has been in the 12-step program for 40 some odd years. He was an alcoholic or an addict, is what he said. I don't remember if it was alcoholism, but he said he was an addict, I think, for 12 some odd years. And then he left and he hasn't turned back. And for 40 some odd years, he has been on a spiritual journey, and he calls it that, on a spiritual journey to connect to his higher power and be in service. And he doesn't have fear of, there were, I can't remember who was interviewing him, that asked him, well, aren't you afraid? Because the Kennedy name, a lot of bad things to the Kennedys. And he was saying, I'm just doing what I'm called to do. He is just being moved. And even though it appears that we're still in the old playground, in the old amusement park, it's new light in the amusement park. Is new light that is beginning to shine, that is having people say, oh, I don't want to keep playing there. I want to play here. And to me, that is what Kennedy is going to do, help create that new playground, be part of that co-creation, but we have to dismantle the old. And to me, this is where Trump comes in. So when you begin to align with God and you begin to observe the players, you begin to understand the roles. It's not personal. It's not about parties. It's not about good or bad or right or wrong. It's about what is the next level of consciousness. And it is an energetic frequency. And when you're not tied to my party, your party, right, wrong, you can see just it's eternity unfolding right before your eyes. Like we could say, oh, the period where this planet had to implode and the land masses were shifting and you couldn't have life on the planet. Are you going to say that's a bad period? No, you're going to say it was a necessary period to get us to where we do have life on the planet. Well, we're in a necessary period of ending an old era for those who are done with that and starting a new one. It's not good. It's not wrong. It's not right. It's not bad. It is what is, but in a higher frequency, it will serve the greater good of all. Why? Because it is no longer about satisfying that inner idol, me, or an external idol. Well, you are the president, so we are all going to bow down to you. I mean, even if you say nonsense, we're going to bow down to you. This is a time, as it says in this chapter, the new beginning. Are you observing what is co-creating the new? Or are you still attempting to make right and wrongs of the old? Get clear about where you stand, because what is at hand is all that is unlimited, that is possible for humanity, but we have to be prepared to share. Or are you still in the what can I get, and this team is wrong and that one's wrong and let me protect myself, because you're still playing in smallness. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Two different playgrounds. Which one do you want to be on? You have 100% free will to choose how you play the game of being a human, to choose your playmates. You have free will. This is a wonderful opportunity for us to see that the idols that we have created have attached us to the old. If you want the new, you must cut those ties. You must free yourself from those idols. And the idols are many. There are many, and I described quite a few. But let's keep coming back. Next week, we'll come back together and see. Today we completed lesson 111, and it is what, 6/26, June 26th. Wow. Be prepared. Be prepared. The intensities are activating. We are on the verge of a massive, massive shift, because humanity, so many of us, are done with the old. And when we don't support the old, it's going to crumble. But then we've got to be prepared for the co-creation of the new. If anybody got any nuggets and you want to share them, unmute yourselves. If not, I will see you next week, always on Wednesdays, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, noon time. And oh, I just love having you here. It's wonderful. These transmissions move through me, and it's so exciting to be used like this. All right, nobody's unmuting themselves. I totally get it. Share these messages. If they touch you, please share them with others. Don't keep the secret a secret. I love you all so much, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.